Hello and welcome. Today we're going to make chicken salad for chicken salad sandwiches. Now this recipe is a bit of a leftovers glue kind of thing, and I'll explain that in just a few moments. But first, I'd like to thank everyone who's subscribed and who's been sharing the videos and liking them, and anyone who isn't subscribed, I would encourage you to subscribe for more just like this. Well, maybe not exactly, different recipes. So let's get to the ingredients. For our ingredients, we have 2 cups chicken, 1/4 cup raisins, 1/4 cup pecans, 1/4 cup mayo, plus more, 2 teaspoons mustard, a half a teaspoon garlic powder, half a teaspoon onion powder, half a teaspoon each of salt and pepper, 1 teaspoon granulated honey, a half a teaspoon of ginger, half a teaspoon of paprika, and 1/4 teaspoon of dill, as well as 2 teaspoons lemon juice. For our pecans, you may want to check your package. Mine were a little bit large for chopped pecans. I want them more of that size in the measuring cup there that I'm showing you. It's just to make it so that the mouthfeel of the sandwich doesn't get anything like really, oh my god, there's a giant whole nut in my mouth. So you can just crush them up in your palm like this. It works great, and that's really all you need to do to those. Now, for our chicken, we're going to want to decide how fine you want your chicken to be. Now, in this case, I diced all mine to a small dice, so about the same size as the raisins. And that's a little bit bigger than I want them to be, so I'm going to take these 2 forks and break them up a little bit. All I'm doing is taking the 1 fork and dragging chicken across the back of the other fork. Occasionally just dragging them across each other. The reason I'm doing that is I want a variety of sizes, and I want to be able to taste the chicken sometimes, but also sometimes I want it to be a more smoother, almost pate-like consistency. So when you do something like this, with 2 forks like this, and you're dragging it across the fork, you'll actually leave a lot of different sizes. And that's the one thing we truly want, because then it doesn't make it one even texture. One even texture is good in some things, but I really don't think this is one of those things. I like to have more textures in there. That's also where we're including the raisins and the pecans, and it just, to me, it makes it have a much nicer bite. Oh, and you'll see me rescuing my ingredients over here. That's because I have a fuzzy little photobomber here. Her name is Aria. There she is. And she really, really loves the smell of chicken. Alright, and after a brief reset from the kitten, I'm just going to finish up doing this, and I'll just fast forward through that or skip most of it. But like I said, the one thing you want to pay attention to is your sizes are going to mean more. The bigger your pieces, the less mayo. The smaller your pieces, the more mayo. And that also means sometimes if you use too much mayo, you can have your flavors get a little bit out of balanced. So sometimes you might want to use slightly bigger pieces just to make sure you're not getting so far down to that there's so much mayonnaise that nothing else gets through there. So like if you made it all pate style, you'd probably have to double all the dry ingredients to really be able to taste any of it over the mayonnaise. So, and that gets a little too much on the grease and oily mayonnaise-y thing. So, you probably don't want to do that. Like I said, a variety of textures seems to be the winning way here. Once we have all of our chicken shredded to where we want it, we just need to add our ingredients. I usually start with the mayonnaise and the wet ingredients, but again, that's just sort of a thing of habit. Your mayonnaise is just going to be a starter. At a 1/4 cup, you're probably going to need to add some no matter what. It's just going to be a matter of how much. And again, that's on your shred size. Now, the mustard that I'm tossing in here is actually spicy brown mustard. You can use any kind of mustard. If you don't have this, yellow mustard works great. It tastes just fine. Just if you have other types like Dijon or brown mustard, it'll add another element of flavor to the dish. And that does make it a little bit nicer, and I would say it widens the flavor a bit. One of the things you can do, which I am doing here, is the pecans and a little bit of the raisins as well, but I don't add the raisins till the end. Since they're a more solid thing, if you add them in before you start doing your initial mix of everything, they're kind of going to act like rocks in it, so to speak, so it'll break things up easily for you and it helps make sure things don't clump that much. Both the onion powder and the garlic powder, if you want to taste them more, you'll have to double them. This is made to just be sort of a background flavor that you don't notice that much. Now, for the granulated honey, that's kind of hard to get in some places, and I don't know a lot of people who have it. You could replace it with either brown sugar or regular cane sugar. Any kind of sugar should work. I mean, I wouldn't go with like confectioner sugar, but it will work in that place. If you can get the honey, though, definitely try with that. It gives you the taste of the honey in the background, and it's great. The raisins, also, if you can get cranberries or cherries or something like that, that's also really good. I think cranberry is actually fairly typical in certain styles of chicken salad, like Waldorf, I think. Doesn't matter. This one does have them, and they add a nice firmness to the bite in places, and a nice sweetness to that complements everything in here very well. That paprika, somewhat similar to the onion and garlic powder, you're not going to taste it that much, so you don't really have to worry about that. It's just there to sort of, again, add just another background flavor so that the chicken and everything can come out and just stand up and be like, yeah. Alright, at the beginning of this I mentioned that this is somewhat of a leftovers glue. And in my case, I have some celery here. A lot of times when you're cooking, you're not going to use up everything you buy, or there's a little bit extra, or it takes a half a cup, but you can only buy it in a full cup size, that kind of thing. In this case, recipes like this are really good for using this because pretty much anything vegetable works. If you have some, half an onion or bits of bell pepper, celery in my case, which I had broken down a bunch of for a different video recipe that I was working on, didn't use these, it worked great. Now, of course, we have to adjust our mayonnaise again, simply because you're adding a lot. In this case, I added about 3/4 of a cup of celery here, which is going to give it a nice texture, but also meant it breaks up a little bit more. Now, I would have probably only needed to add maybe 1.5 tablespoons, 2 tablespoons, if I hadn't added that, but I'm pretty sure I ended up adding about another 1/4 cup, just about doubling it, simply because at that point it finally came together really nicely. Once mine had come together, our chef comes by, and there is a Layla who's going to come by and just give the smell test. She likes. So, that means I'm done. We've made chicken salad. She also wants some chicken salad. The nice thing about recipes like this is, like I said, they're a glue. You can exchange ingredients fairly freely. If you have some fruit, you can exchange that for the raisins. You can not have the raisins if you don't like raisins. You could not add an ingredient. You could try other ingredients. You could go with a spicier pepper than paprika. There's all kinds of things you can do. And like I said, it's especially good for using up stuff that you just didn't quite use up enough of in the end, since most of these sort of ratios can be just eyeballed. You don't have to measure anything, really. I would suggest you measure it the first time at least, though, so you kind of know what you want it to taste like. I have made that mistake before of not doing so and found out, whoa, that was different. So, hopefully you enjoyed this. Hopefully you try this. It's actually quite good. We've had it 3 nights in a row, I think. And I'm still not sick of it. Thank you for watching, and have a great meal.